IVM.
There's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin and Dr, your habit coach. And today we have a very, very interesting episode because we're going to be talking about how do we redefine anti-aging? How should we start thinking about aging in a different way? Normally when we think about aging, we only see the signs of aging, but we don't necessarily understand what it actually means. So today with us, we have a very special guest who does this for a living. Dr. Falguni is joining us to understand how we can redefine the way we think about anti-aging. Phalguni, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Hi, Ashdin, and thank you for this. And it's a pleasure to be with you on this podcast.
Phalguni, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we quickly jump into the anti-aging discussion?
Hi. So if you say education-wise, then I am a dermatologist. I've done my MBBS and then MD in dermatology. So I'm a practicing skin doctor with special focus on the aesthetic part of dermatology. Especially why I say just aesthetic, because that's what people perceive it as. Whenever they think of skin, somehow the whole concept is they're talking about skin as a beauty organ and not just as an organ, which is the largest organ of the body. So I do this for a living where one is to make people aware that when you're talking about skin and you're talking about a beautiful skin, it is actually so connected with everything internal which is going on. So I practice aesthetics in the true sense of the word, where you're talking about aesthetic body internally and externally.
So internally aesthetics, what do you mean by that? How do you have an internal aesthetic?
The thing is, if we have to start with the basics, like I said, why I even emphasized on the educational qualification, because to be able to treat the skin, which is the largest organ of the body, you need to go through a process of understanding the anatomy, physiology of the body as such. So you start with an MBBS degree, which is common to everyone, and then you specialize in skin because skin has its own nerve supply, blood supply, everything, a lymphatic drainage, exactly like your heart, lung, liver, all of it. So when we are talking about the only exception being here that the skin is outside the body, so it's an external organ and all other organs are hidden. So you don't know whether all your other organs are healthy or something. You only know it when you get a blood parameter done. But for the skin to be healthy, you just need to see it. But if you see the skin is healthy, you also know that it is healthy. But that health comes from the health of the entire internal system. So you cannot have a healthy skin if you do not have a healthy internal system. So that's where it's coming from, that when I say aesthetic internally, that you need to be healthy internally and then move towards a healthy skin. Otherwise, it will always look artificial. Otherwise, it will always look what people don't want it. We still are all stressing towards we want to look good naturally. That doesn't mean that everything you do is natural, but whatever you do should look natural. That's where people are moving towards. But that won't be possible till you take it as a whole term. You're taking as where you need to let the internal body be healthy for the skin to be healthy. So that's where this comes from.
So the inside and the outside, you're saying basically are linked. So you have to understand
Absolutely.
That the inside health is as important as what you are seeing on the outside. And there are
Absolutely.
clear parameters that you can see on the skin that, this is a healthy skin, this is not a healthy skin. Like right now, people who are listening can go to a mirror and actually observe these.
Yes, they can. So if I can just take some 30 seconds here and tell you what I mean by healthy skin. So when you say what you really mean by a good skin, when let's define a good skin. It is not about being fair or it's not about being dark. A good skin is something which is well hydrated. The elastin, the collagen, the tone, the texture are all healthy. That means if the skin radiates light on its own, that means it is well hydrated. If the skin is supple and plumped up, that means the collagen and the elastin are in the right proportion. If the skin is clear in texture, that means maybe hormonally you are at a good rate. If it doesn't have the pigmentation or the blemishes, that means metabolically you're doing fine within. So a healthy skin has all these parameters, which I can say radiance, hydration, tone, texture, and elasticity. So if you have these 5 parameters in place, somewhere we are able to deduct that maybe internally also things are at a good level, because a lot of your internal things will always get reflected outside. So for example, if you say, if someone is hormonally imbalanced within, the texture may not be very smooth. If the person is metabolically imbalanced within, like certain maybe your cholesterol levels are not too great, or your insulin levels are all over the place, or your thyroid is not too great, then you may have the pigmentation and other things showing out. So the skin has blemishes. Again, if the skin is not well hydrated, so the hydration or the water content of the skin is not too great, which could be maybe because, again, you have a hypothyroid condition going for you, or a hyperthyroid, or again, your dihydrotestosterone is high, but the moisture is low. So we are able to correlate a lot of these things with your internal system. So that's what I mean, that a healthy skin is these 5 things intact. It also means that this is also probably the definition of a youthful skin. Now, since we're talking about anti-aging, we also need to talk about what I really mean by youth. I mean, youth is not just about do we have wrinkles or do we not have wrinkles. Youth is about good tone, good texture, good elasticity, and good hydration. And this, you can have a 50-year-old youthful skin, which is irrespective of that number. Like a 50 and a postmenopausal woman may have few lines, but she may still be very youthful in her appearance. And vis-a-vis someone who's really worked upon themselves without having worked upon their body may have no lines, but they would still not look youthful. So that's where this whole concept is about, the holistic approach to an anti-aging treatment.
So it's very interesting because normally when you think of anti-aging, you only think of the lines that are there as a way. So I've got wrinkles, I've got crow feet, right? I've got pigmentation underneath, like when perimenopause, etc., starts happening in women. So all these things are taken as signs of aging. And we are saying that aging is not just these things. There is far more to aging than we should be aware of.
So I'm sure, Ashton, even you yourself, you may be going through Instagram of so many celebrities or so many people out there who are on the social media. And you actually need to just look at them and you know that these people have been worked upon. I mean, why? Because you feel that they do not have lines, they do not have wrinkles, but somehow it's not going with the entire picture they're trying to project. They may have no wrinkles, but they're not looking very youthful. They may look young. So let's take youth as an adjective and not a noun. So the idea is they may look young because they're worked upon, but they are definitely not youthful. Vis-a-vis, you may see someone who's in her 50s or perimenopausal or postmenopausal, and still you feel there's so much youth in this person, in spite of the crow's feet or in spite of few lines out here. That's because the tone, texture, hydration, quality of skin is there. Now, does this quality really come from just doing some injectables here or there? No, this quality of skin actually has so much to do from within. And it again doesn't happen overnight. Now, this is very much related to what you do. I mean, it's a habit. Skin care is a habit. I mean, you need to relate it and, adapt it as a habit which starts very early in life. Because suddenly, if you wake up one day and say, I don't want to look old anymore, I mean, you can still do it. It's a habit you can pick up anytime and anywhere. Since we are doing this podcast and there are mediums of spreading the awareness, we can motivate people to pick up this habit a little bit early on in life.
So let's start by redefining the way that anti-aging is taking place. Like, we were just having a conversation before the podcast started, and one word that stuck in my head was many people start the anti-aging journey when the fear has hit them. Saying, oh my God, I am now aging. Now I need to do something about it. And then they start thinking about anti-aging and stopping the aging process. How can we rechange and rewire our minds and have a paradigm shift to think about aging in a completely different way? Maybe start early. How should we start doing that?
So if you want to change, so this definition is something which has been given by us, by the entire world. The world has started talking about anti-aging as reversal of age. Whereas I think we can redefine it by saying, well, let's talk about it as prevention of age. So we start the preventive process very early, So, and when you mean age, what do you mean? Aging is a process which, like when you are 4, you're younger than when you are 5. So that also is aging. You're just moving ahead in life. That doesn't mean you're getting old. So we have to first get this thing that you're just shifting from one number to the other number.
You have to figure out which number that you want to stop on and then continue that one
you
forever.
Leave it to, Exactly. So let's redefine it and say that let's begin the process of aging as prevention rather than shifted when you're already there. Because it is great for a 50-year-old to look, feel, and perform in every which way like a 30-year-old. Because it cannot happen that you're just going to look a certain age and you're not going to feel. If you're not feeling that 30, whatever you do is incomplete. And to feel, I'm talking about feeling young, is not about just like, oh, I'm going to go and party all night and everything. And that's not called feeling young. Feeling young is when you're energetic in your thoughts, energetic in your mind, when your mind, body, metabolism, physiology, all is functioning in a certain way. And all that we start very early, somewhere right in your 20s. So this is something which you can address and begin as a habit as young as when you're 20. That's where I think we should go towards with this podcast.
Yeah, because 20s is it's completely changing the way that we think about it. At 20, nobody's thinking about anti-aging. 20, we're at our peak. And we're saying that now that you're at your peak, and I know that we have lots of people who are in college listening to this. Now that you're at your peak, you have to maintain this peak. And that the idea is the maintenance of this anti-aging instead of seeing it go up and down, up and down, up and down.
Right. And I think today's youth is a little bit more aware than what at least I was, because they are they're in the era of social media where they're constantly taking selfies. The mobile has changed everybody's life because you are watching yourself way more than what you watched yourself. Like the number of Zoom calls have increased. The meetings are online. So people are seeing themselves in front of themselves a little bit more than what they've ever done in their life. So 20-year-old is taking far more pictures than what I would have taken when I was 20. We didn't have a camera at that time. We didn't have a phone which had a camera. So I think they are getting subjected to even comments which are not pertaining to age, but which I would take as a negative emotion. Like, for example, I know 20-year-olds who come, and when they're in a group, they will like my daughter, she's going to be 16. I already have some friends who will come and say, you've not slept at night, you're looking tired. Whereas maybe she has slept at night and maybe she is not tired, but the skin is looking tired. So these are negative emotions, like looking tired, looking sad, looking pensive. And sometimes maybe you're not, but your skin is not healthy and rested enough. So it is portraying something which you maybe not feeling internally. So these are the signs which the youth is more subjected to. And it is when someone tells them that, okay, you look as if you've not slept at night. And those are the times when you feel that, okay, maybe I need to change a little bit in my routine and form a habit of a healthy skincare. So start right in the 20s, yes.
This is so interesting. In Phalguni, I've been at the end of this as well. Having a fantastic day and somebody suddenly comes up and say, why, you're looking really tired, you're looking really sad. And like, when did this happen?
I'm not.
I'm not. So does our mind does our skin have a mind of its own?
Absolutely, the skin has a mind of its own, because it is showing something which is not related to what you're feeling inside, and that's because the health part of it is missing. Today, many things, like, let me start with something as simple as dark circles. Okay, though it's not simple, it's the most common thing and most difficult to deal with, but it is something which everybody, probably 50 to 60% of our population, is worried about that. What are the reasons for these dark circles? They're simple. One is pure genetic. Genetically, you have a skin type which is such. Then you have lack of sleep. Then you have sitting in front of a device for hours together. Then you have that lot of eye makeup people use. And that eye makeup pigment is a pigment. Whenever you apply a pigment and you take the pigment out of your skin, which is makeup, eye makeup, whatever, it dries your skin. So thin, dry skin under the eye. Then lack of nutrition. Then lack of the right kind of cleansing and the right kind of hydration. Because again, what is happening is use of wrong products. Instagram is like, I get scared to open an Instagram because the kind of products which are available can blow your mind. I mean, sitting in my skin office when I'm consulting, I have young girls who actually come and tell me that, oh, I'm using niacinamide, I'm using salicylic acid. Why are you all using these technical terms? Who's told you all to? Instagram, influencers, these are the people who just tell them that, okay, use a niacinamide for brightening, use salicylic acid for this. You may need none of it. All you need is a good night's sleep sometimes. So what you will end up doing is, oh, I am looking dull today, let me put this on my skin. So you are using a brightening serum on your skin without realizing why the skin is looking dull. So overuse of the wrong products, all these, they end up taking a toll on your skin. And you don't know exactly what has happened, but then it is, the cause chasing the treatment all the time. So,
and that's, the important thing. In fact, I was just thinking about that we are constantly looking for the band-aids. we're not looking at what are the things that we can
Yes.
do to be preventative, right? Like I was just writing a podcast on food, and I
Yes.
was saying the
Yes.
first rule of food is make sure it doesn't harm you, right? Then
Yep.
you worry about what can you improve on, and et cetera, et cetera. But the first thing is that the food that you put in your mouth should not harm you. So what are some of the habits
Agreed.
that you're seeing people do right now that are harming them before they should even start thinking about enhancement or improving it? How can they prevent something from taking place and this aging from starting right in the 20s?
So one of the habits which I've seen is, of course, the devices, which I think it is over. Everybody knows it, but everybody's doing it. So it's like being on the phone constantly, being in front of a laptop constantly, and
Are there
well, I
things that
also
we can do to
understand that
prevent it? Because now that is life.
exactly. That's why my next point is: there's nothing we can do to not do this. I think we will have to live with this. But what you could do is, when you know that you have a lifestyle where you're going to be in front of a device all the time, then keep hydrating yourself, because those rays from the device can take away the water from your skin. So if I have to say, give you a little bit more technicality on that your skin has 10% hydration or water, which is a natural part of the skin's structure. This 10% water is what protects you. It's a protective barrier. We call it the barrier function of the skin. It protects your skin from everything from outside, like the sun, the rays, the pollution. That time when the medical textbooks were getting written, there was one thing missing, which was the radiation because of devices, because it didn't exist there. But yes, it does the same thing like a UV radiation. It's a different kind of radiation. Like we have a UVA, B, and C. We have a UVR, which is a different kind of radiation, and that is because of the devices. So hydrate yourself, wear a sunscreen regularly. So just the day before, I'd gone out for breakfast with a friend, and my friend's sister was traveling from the US with her daughter, and she asked me a question that why should I use a sunscreen? Because I know that Indians don't develop, I mean, the pigmented skins don't develop skin cancers. So she comes from a country where 50% of cancers are skin cancers. So they need a sunscreen more to protect you from the sun so that it doesn't have pathological damage, which is skin cancer. I said, but you're not getting the point that why we use sunscreen is actually more for aesthetic reasons. Because the sun will eat into the collagen, will eat into the hydration and the elasticity. So somewhere you're moving a step closer towards depleting three important elements which will help maintain your youth. And so use a sunscreen even when you're sitting in front of a device. Secondly, since you are in front of a device all day, at night when you're going to go to bed, use a moisturizer on your skin, because you're giving back the hydration. These are three very simple things that anybody can follow. A sunblock, sip water during the day, and give the hydration back at night. It takes ginke, I think, 10 seconds of your life. And I think that you will tell us more how much time this takes, and you know that
And where to put it in as a habit.
and it does become yeah, where to put it and how to put it in. It's very important because, again, I have so many people who will come and say, but doctor, I don't feel thirsty. So the thing is, this also is a habit. The more you drink, the more thirsty you get. So people who are not used to drinking, your body is such a fantastic machine. It actually is machine learning in its own. So people who don't drink water, their body stops asking for water. It adapts. Because not to forget that 66%, like actually 70% of your body is water. So it gives you the required thing from somewhere, not understanding that it's actually taking it from some place and giving it to you. So you're depleting it somewhere, but it will still keep you going till it can't take anymore. That's when suddenly you'll wake up and say, "Oh my God, my skin is so parched," because
It's
by that time it's given up.
it's exactly like when we start fasting with food. After day 3, your body stops giving you the hunger signal because it says, "Why am I torturing this poor soul? As it is not, there's no food around for him. Now, why add the hunger signal to it?" So the same way, the body stop giving the
Yes.
thirst signal because you've not been drinking. That means there's not enough water around.
Yes.
So you need to change that
So
wiring
maybe you
itself.
need to, guide people on this. Yeah, you need to guide people how this is also an habit, like, drinking water.
And in fact,
That's
you can
so
just
important.
create a very simple sleep skin routine around this. Like for example, every time you
Hmm.
put on your moisturizer, have a glass of water. Every time you put your sunblock on, have a glass of water. And then you're saying that I'm doing this
Yes.
for myself. So there is that little positive reinforcement that is taking place every time you do those habits as well. There is a sense of purpose behind what it is that we are doing.
Another thing I've started making my patients do is because of this whole thing of water, like the essential vitamins that people take, like
Mhm.
a vitamin C or vitamin D3 or a calcium. The good part is a few of these vitamins are now available in the effervescent form. That
Correct.
means you take one tablet, put it in a glass of water and drink it up. So I said all vitamins, you try taking it in the effervescent form because at least those 3 glasses of water go in your stomach for those three vitamins.
Yeah, and it's a fun little treat that you're having while you're doing that. Makes a lot of
Yes.
sense.
We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side.
Have you ever wondered where the business world is headed? How the ways in which we create, market, and sell to consumers will evolve? Or if we'll ever go back to wearing pants while working? For answers to all of this and more, tune into Advertising is Dead with me, Varun Tugirala. Every Tuesday, as I talk to entrepreneurs, leaders, and change makers from across business, media, marketing, and beyond. You can catch all episodes of Advertising is Dead on the IBM Podcast website, app, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Welcome back. All right, let's jump into the conversation.
So when we're thinking about coming back to the whole anti-aging thing, right? There were multiple layers that we were talking about. So there's one which is the skin, what you can see externally.
Yeah.
How else is the youth or the vitality robbed from our lives?
So, that's what I said. I will divide this aging into three brackets. I will talk about it as anatomy. Anatomy is where your skin, what you see from outside. Physiology, where there is slowing down of all the processes. Like we have the various cycles which are going on, the energy cycle, the Krebs cycle. These are cycles which break the sugar to energy and all the other processes. And third is the metabolic. Metabolic is where your hormones are getting produced in a certain quantity. Like when you're young, you have this much estrogen, this much progesterone, this much testosterone. And then as you start going towards menopause, which is, I'm talking about both male and female menopause, both, then there is a depletion of hormones, and that happens under the metabolic process. So all these three things together will be aging. When I talk about anatomy, it is what you see skin. Under the skin, you have a layer which is called collagen. This collagen, if you want to talk about it in a lay term, is almost like a glue which sticks your skin to all the underneath layers, and which means then you have the muscle, then you have the fat pad, and then finally you have the bone. So if you have to look from below, you have the bone, then you have the fat pad, then you have a muscle, then you have collagen, then you have skin. So, and the skin is attached to these layers with this collagen. And when you're talking about anatomical aging, the aging happens right at that level of the bone. So if you see a forensic drama, you will see that someone picks up a bone and then they will say, this was the age of the dead uh, victim,
Person.
because they've tried to decipher the age from the bone. So what happens is as you grow older, the bone shrinks, the muscle shrinks, the fat pads shrink, the collagen shrinks, and that's why the skin loses its structure and definition. So this is where anatomy wise happens. What we can do at the prevention level for anatomy, we can't do anything to the bone. So it's okay. You don't try to do what you can't do, but you can preserve that collagen. So if that skin is stuck to all the underlying layers as well as it was earlier, you will look leaner when you grow older. You won't look old. So, that elasticity is maintained. If you're able to maintain the muscle tone by a good diet, by a good workout regularly, then you're able to even hold on to the muscle. It will shrink. I'm not saying that these are all reversal of aging, they are all prevention. So you will go in a very smooth way towards your final age number, which you are okay to have. So the muscle will be well toned, the skin will be well structured because of the collagen. And since we are also then going to talk about metabolism and all, the skin color and tone will also be good. Coming to the various processes, physiologic, like all the cycles which slow down. If you pay attention to your nutrition, that means you give nutrition 1 star more than taste always in your
Hmm.
life. You will know that you're able to maintain your metabolism your physiology for a very long time. Because initially people say garbage in, garbage out. That's okay when you are in your teenagers and 20s. But that garbage in, garbage out doesn't happen after a certain time because the body is slowing down. So garbage in and more garbage in and very little garbage goes out. So if you can, I'm not saying convert it. We all want to go and have a cheat days but we can be a little bit mindful about what we are putting in our mouth all the time. And the third one, when you're talking about metabolism, you have to have an exercise routine for yourself right when you're right from your teenage level. I would not even say 20s, because the lifestyle of a teenager today is so sedentary. There is no external sport happening. Kids don't go out and play. People are just not up and about. They're all
It's
the
very
time
scary.
indoors. Very scary. And like, I will give you an example. When you see kids growing up, the number of kids who were wearing glasses, spectacles, when I was in school, and when I see in my daughter's class, like the whole class is wearing spectacles. That means they're not getting enough vitamins, they're not getting enough vitamin D. Even teeth, the number of children wearing braces today, the whole class is wearing braces because they're not chewing anything, they're only having food which is easy to gulp. Means there is no fruit getting chewed into, there is no apple which they're eating straight up. They just having bread and bread and bread and bread and bread and bread all the time.
Phalguni, discuss these two because these are topics that nobody really talks about and are essential for people to understand that the eyesight can be prevented and the braces and the teeth moving can be prevented. Can you just tell us a little bit about it?
If I talk about eyesight, what happens is your eye actually starts adjusting. It's a lens at the end of the day. So when you grow taller, a little bit of shift happens in the adjusting of your. So when the child grows taller, the lens starts getting adjusted a little bit. But what happens is a lot of it is also depending upon the UV radiation, about the way you're growing. The growth spurts are changing in today's children because they don't go out and play. They are not having any kind of physical activities of what they had. So the body is not adjusting. The lens is not adjusting at all to the height. It's all disproportionate. So suddenly you will see young kids wearing glasses because the lens has not been able to adjust at all. So I say that children have to pick up a sport extremely early in life, because you're not going down and playing anymore. Like, earlier in buildings, you would see children running around. You didn't need to put them in a structured sporting activity if this was still happening. But that's not happening anymore. You call it safety, you call it concern of the parents, you call it the tiger moms, I don't know. But it's not happening. So if you
Tiger
could
moms,
put
I
them
love
in,
that phrase. Huh?
yeah,
Is that
because
a
you
phrase
want your
called
child
tiger
to do
mom?
everything. Yeah, because you want your child to do everything. So
Hmm.
you're taking them for a skating class, and then you're taking them for a painting class, and you're taking them. You want your child to top in school, whatever. I mean, that's a topic for a different day. But yeah, if you could probably have them into a sport, the number of children wearing spectacles may just reduce.
Correct.
Secondly, is like I said, the braces, because they don't chew. If you see the diet, any parent who comes into my clinic and says, my child only likes eating pastas and burgers and is always ordering, is only Swiggy or Zomato on their thing, and then the Starbucks, and then the Frappuccinos. So that is sugar. They're not hungry. I have not seen them. And I've seen them, even the parents, when they give them the fruits, they're all peeled off and cut into small pieces. They're not taking an apple and chewing it down. They're not breaking, if you're a non vegetarian, they're not really having the chicken the way it should. They're not chewing on it. Everything is processed. Everything is made in a easily palatable, gulpable form. Now the teeth are not going to get aligned. The teeth get aligned because of the chewing process when you're younger. Now you will have overcrowding of the teeth. You will have crooked teeth. You will have the upper teeth not aligned with the lower teeth because there is nothing which is helping them get aligned. So it happens at that level. Everything is going the artificial way.
Correct. And there are so many things that we should do to at least, even as we age, start chewing more. We are having too many soft foods. We're overcooking everything. And our
Absolutely.
body was designed for chewing and gnawing. So there was a very interesting study
Absolutely.
done amongst apes. And we are basically bigger, different kinds
Yeah.
of apes only. So apes spend about 1/3 of their life or something rubbish like that. Like how much you spend 1/3 of our life sleeping, 1/3 of their
Mhm.
life chewing,
Oh
because
my God.
everything that they eat is chew, 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 chew. And as a result, one is obviously the jaw muscles are fantastic, but
Mm.
notice none of them require braces. Why don't animals in nature require braces? Because they
Yeah.
are having food that was designed for their physiology. We right now are losing the structure of our jaw. So in fact, there was this whole study that I did when I was exploring this thing called mastic gum. Are you familiar with mastic gum?
I'm familiar with a masseter muscle.
No. So mastic gum is a resin that is there from a plant. So it's a natural gum.
Okay.
So I used to love chewing gums, and I went on this whole trip on I need to find the most natural chewing gum known to man, that kind of thing. So I ended up at this thing called mastic gum. And then I realized that mastic gum was used in order to rearrange your jaw, give that defined jawline, because with the chewing, all of this suddenly starts getting structured well. So it's so important on learning these aspects and knowing that you can change them.
Now, let me give you the anatomical significance of something that you just said. That chewing a gum, you have a muscle out here which is called the masseter muscle. This masseter muscle gets pronounced when you are chewing. And when it gets pronounced, it gives a structure to the jaw because you get the straight jaw. So people go on and, if you look like a Brad Pitt because they have a square jaw. But you don't see people having it now because they don't chew. So the masseter muscle has almost become redundant and it is atrophied. And because it is atrophied, it causes a sag in the jawline. So now next best is because the jaw is not perfect. Men get away with it by keeping beards, but women can't do anything about it. So then comes in the whole aesthetic procedure of let's straighten the jaw. It's simple. If you had a muscle which is stronger, maybe you won't have a drop in the jaw. So it's all connected. That's what I'm saying. I'm in for aesthetic procedures. That's my bread and butter. But even for these aesthetic procedures to look aesthetic and to look natural, if certain preventive things are incorporated in your life, it makes so much sense. Like, for example, because you don't chew, there is something called the tongue and the palate of the mouth that you exercise it. So where you can touch your tongue to the upper palate, and that's the position of your chin actually. So you can actually keep exercising this. And why we need to do this is, again, because we're not chewing enough. If we were chewing, we wouldn't need to, we would have the structure of the face like it is supposed to be.
Absolutely. So true. So all these things also add up to our aging. Like you said, as men grow older, they start growing beards because they realize that they are looking less chiseled. Their jawline has disappeared and they need that beard to add that jawline back in. So it's all part of the way that we start worrying about our age instead of preventing it. Imagine if we could look 21 from the time from that time onwards. Wouldn't that be something, right? And we can at least slow it down to maybe look 24 when we are 40. So that is where we are moving towards.
Yep.
How do you think that, when people come to you and they say they're worried about their aging, etc., right? Or like you mentioned, you see celebrities online where they have these perfect faces, but that there's something missing behind them. How do you bring that something missing to that person? What is that je ne sais quoi? What is the thing that is missing in them?
Like I'm saying, they're looking young, but the youth is missing.
Is it vitality? Is it fun? Is it musty?
Everything.
What is it?
The youth is an adjective which you could use. You could just see a person and you say that this person is very youthful. What do you really mean? That the energy that person is exuding is nice. The positive energy is nice. The positive emotions on the face are nice. So the person in front of you is not looking unhappy, is not looking tired, is not looking angry. Now, this anger is an extremely important part of being able to look youthful because most of the people are roaming about with so many negative emotions, I feel, and it shows. I'm not saying that you need to go and sit under the tree in Bodh Gaya and get everything sorted. No, we are human beings at the end of the day. And we all are going to go through a whole lot of stress. And that's where I think the whole concept of exercising in whatever capacity you like helps, because when you work out, you release endorphins or the serotonin. Serotonin is the happy hormone. And that happy hormone, it's not that it makes you happy. It's just that it reduces the impact of the negative hormones. And that makes so much sense. So youth is about all that. Secondly, if you've started a skincare regime a little bit early in life, where your skin is blemish free because you're using a sunblock, you're using a good moisturizer, you're using a good cleanser, make a habit of 3 things: cleanse your skin, moisturize your skin, and use a sunblock very early in life. So you're able to preserve some amount of skin quality also. Your emotions are a little bit positive. Your vitality is more because your metabolism is good. So nutrition, exercise, and skincare as a habit starting early in life plays a huge role in trying to lessen the artificial aesthetic procedures which are making people look not their best. So I think, I'm not saying we will be able to do away with the procedures. We must do it if we are inclined to do it. But if you combine this with this, then the result is complete. Every time a result is not complete, it does not look as aesthetic. Like, for example, if you have a great face, but your body is not fit, it's not going to complete the picture of a so-called beautiful human being. It has to be complete, right? So if you have to give a complete aesthetic cure, you have to have a combination of all of it. The
It's
problem
like
is
you're wearing a
people
suit on the top and boxers underneath. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So the thing is, people try to go for the easiest thing. That okay, I'm looking old, I want to look young, I will go to this doctor and I will fix it. And that's where the entire industry or the entire so-called Botox gets a bad name. They say, oh, she's Botoxed. Now, there's nothing wrong in Botox. Botox is a drug which is giving you, taking something else. But if you're just doing Botox and you're not doing the other things, that's when it messes up.
That is the problem. It is only doing one of these elements without actually taking everything together as a whole. Okay.
I think that's what we are missing. Yeah.
That completion. Phalguni, how can people reach out to you? Where can they connect? Where can they continue this conversation?
So I have an Instagram handle, and they can, it's Dr Falguni Shah _ and they can connect with me there. I have a website called, my skin clinic is called Radiant Skin Clinic, and I practice in Juhu in Mumbai. And I think these are the easiest ways to connect. If they leave a message on my Instagram, I will be more than happy to solve any queries. And I don't know whether I should mention this here, but very soon I'll be coming out with my own products also, which I would probably, we are looking for a platform to have it as a direct-to-consumer thing. So it's most of these products are going to be products which will heal your skin, which will treat your skin, and they're not feel-good products. Like we'll have products for hydration, we'll have products for pigmentation, which they can use at home on the OTC level, but treatments, so not feel-good ones. So I hope I'm able to do my bit to spread the right meaning of skincare, which is really missing in today's, the huge spectrum that we have is all about feel-good skin and not treating the skin the right way.
So important. And I love the name of your company, Radiance. I think it just ties everything in together for what skin is supposed to be. Phalguni, thank you so much for coming on the Habit Coach podcast.
Thanks, Ashton. Thanks. It was my pleasure.
All right, so that was Dr. Falguni Shah, and we were discussing anti-aging. Join us for the next episode where we discuss how should we think about aging, especially when we come closer to menopause. So if you're in the perimenopause, menopause, or you know somebody who is in, make sure you listen to that episode because it's going to be very informative. Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashdin and Dr on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Voices for Water, Karthik introduces us to Debashish Mukherjee, the Additional Secretary for the Department of Water Resources. He asks her about the Indian government's approach to participatory water management. On The Habit Coach, Ashton speaks to Priyanka Acharya, the host of our newest show, Ek Chuski Finance. She explains how women can start developing micro-habits to manage their finances. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth lists down 3 lessons we can learn from American comedian Andrew Schultz. On Cyrus Says Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Ayushi, Antriksh and I get together. We discuss how every single news channel claims to be number 1. And on Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh contemplate whether economic growth contributes to prosperity in light of India being ranked 136th on the World Happiness Index. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. And don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. Also, remember, we're on YouTube. You can check us out on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube and get a list of all the YouTube channels we have active at this point. I'd also like to make a quick note that we're doing a small listener survey, and it would really help us if you could fill that out. You can go to ivmpodcast.com/survey. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance and India Water Portal. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood,
Get accustomed to womanhood.
enjoy the experience of sisterhood,
Might get to wifehood
or not, choose motherhood.
or not. You'll learn to define your personhood,
Earn a livelihood
change the neighborhood.
and get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Ritasha,
And me, Ayushi,
on a journey from station starting point
to station, what now?
next station, Pudil station, and hopefully Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.